Welcome to our October 6th regular commission meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. And Nikki, would you please lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. As we begin this meeting, may we all take a moment to reflect together, each according to our own individual beliefs and intentions. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trying to speed it up there, Mom?
Was it?
I was making sure my microphone was on. I was impressed.
I was just thinking, we do send our prayers to South Florida.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's certainly where my head went. But.
well, and that's absolutely true. And there's sometimes no words that you can think of to say the right thing in that situation. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, under presentations for the Causeway and Coastal Waterway, that's going to be postponed to another time. She couldn't be here for a personal matter. And then we have citizen input. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak to any item that's not already on the agenda? Seeing or hearing none, we'll move on to the action items. We have a start item adopting fiscal year 2023 final millage rate and final budget. I need a motion to place this on the agenda.
So moved.
Okay. Commissioner Franny and Vice Mayor Kynes, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'm sorry, we taking a vote on this?
No, this is the, adding it to the agenda because
thank
it's a start item.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All righty. Nikki, would you please read Resolution 22-14 by title only?
Yes, Mayor. Resolution 22-14, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dunedin, Florida, adopting the final millage rate for ad valorem tax revenue for fiscal year 2022-23 at a rate of 4.1345 mils, or $4.13 per $1,000 of assessed property value, and providing for an effective date. This has been reading of Resolution 22-14 by title only.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Franny and Vice Mayor Kynes. Thank you.
Mayor, if
Yes,
I may,
ma'am. Oh, sure.
just
Sorry.
some opening comments.
Sure.
First of all, this adoption hearing was scheduled for the 29th of September, as you may recall, which was a week ago tonight, and we were otherwise occupied. And so I'm going to ask Nikki just to go over the intervening period, the steps that we've taken to ensure that our budget is legally adopted after the beginning of the fiscal year.
Yes, thank you. Before we get into the substance, I did just want to be sure the commission was aware of the steps that were taken to legally move your millage hearing to tonight. And the most immediate steps that were taken were consistent with the millage rate statute, which requires that notice was posted at this location on September the 26th, September the 29th, which was your originally scheduled budget hearing. So if anyone did happen to try to come to the budget hearing that night, they would have been met with a posted notice in a conspicuous location that the budget meeting and millage were being postponed to this evening due to Hurricane Ian. The other matters that were taken were running a newspaper advertisement of the notice of postponement, which ran in this Sunday's Tampa Bay Times. I happened to read it myself while drinking coffee and said, oh, look, there's Dunedin's notice of postponement of the millage and budget hearing to this evening at 6 p.m. We also needed to notify the Florida Department of Revenue and the Florida Department of, I'm forgetting the second agency, that there had been a notice of postponement for trim purposes. Both of those notices promptly went out within the required time frame. So those are all of the different steps. Oh, and also the city's media outlets, I have to thank them. They quickly got with all of the different ways that you communicate with your residents. Social media, Facebook, the city's website, Instagram, the news outlets as well that were able, in addition to the published advertisement, just getting it to them that these were postponed. And I actually think that several news outlets picked up because there were a number of local governments that postponed their budget hearings. And so all of those outlets, all of those ways that you communicate with residents routinely were also utilized to try to give as much notice as possible that it would be occurring this evening. Thank you, City Manager, for letting me explain that. It's a new statute, actually, that they allowed you all to utilize, adopted in 2020, that allowed for that to be a bit more of a seamless process, at least once we had the steps all together after getting the City Manager's executive order of a local state of emergency.
Thank you, Nikki. So we also sent smoke signals as well.
Carrier pigeons.
From the Emergency Operations Center. And so thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I think that was important to state for the record. The budget workshop, the adoption hearing this evening should be relatively quick, and that's because a whole lot of work has already been done. And you've seen all of this information about 7 or 8 times at this point. But regardless, we did hold budget workshops on May 31st, on July 22nd, and on August 16th as well. The City Commission has already approved Resolution 2212, which adopted the tentative millage rate. The City Commission has approved Resolution 2213, which adopted the tentative operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2023. Before you this evening are 3 things for approval. First of all, the millage rate at 4.1345. Second of all, the final operating and capital budget. And third, the municipal business plan, all which we're asking you to approve this evening. So with that, Mayor, thank you, and I'll turn it over to Les.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Les Tyler, the Finance Director, and I'm here with Ashley Kempton, our Budget Manager. Thank you for covering that. That's going to make mine brief. I appreciate it. As Jennifer mentioned, this is Resolution 22-14, setting our millage rate at 4.1345 mils, and that is 11.73% more than the rollback rate and the rollback rate is 3.7005 mils. The rollback rate is the rate that would generate the same amount of property tax revenues as the approved for the prior year, less some allowances. When the tax base increases, the rollback rate is less than the prior year's tax rate. On July 14, 2022, the City Commission adopted a maximum millage rate of 4.1345 mils. The City Commission held a public hearing for the tentative budget at a millage rate of 4.1345 mils for fiscal year 23 on September 15, 2022, and this is the final budget hearing today for the 23 millage rate. The 4.1345 mils is the same rate that the city's had since 2016, so that'll be 8 years in a row. The rate will generate $13,904,000 in the general fund, budgeted at a 95% collection rate, and will generate $780,000 for the city's CRA fund for ad valorem revenues. That concludes our comments on the millage rate. Any questions, let me know.
Questions for Les?
Well, I'm going to, if I can, clarify something and have Les confirm it for me. If
Sure.
that's okay. So at the last, the first public hearing, there was a question. I used the term that 60% of our general fund budget was actually labor. And and there was some question that maybe was that an accurate number. And I think the correct number that you've now told me is actually 63%, which actually seems to be low compared to some other entities. But could you just confirm that? Because I just wanted to, because it really kind of was meant to show that, from my point of view, some of the pressures were under, labor being one of them, that everybody's experiencing in every part of the labor market. So,
Sure. Yeah. I took a look and I looked at our current general fund labor, and then I looked at 2 cities. I looked at Largo and Tarpon Springs, and to see what their labor was as a percent of general fund, and I found that theirs was 70. They both were actually 73% of their general fund is labor for both those cities. And so what I did was I took our general fund to be consistent with their calculations, because they both have their own internal police departments. They're not contract like we are. So I took our contract and I pulled out the labor piece, and most of the contract is labor, and I added the labor piece of our sheriff contract, and when adding the labor labor portion of the sheriff contract, we get to 63% of our general fund is for labor. So that was a comparison that I did, and that's accurate.
Yeah, and I just clarify that, you know, to me, well, we already saw that the sheriffs had to do increases to stay competitive. You know, we're seeing that in his contract. We've already had to deal with some things in our fire department that we've dealt with, and now we have our salary study out to see where we are for everybody else. So I thought it was important to clarify that number because there seemed to be some question about it. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment about that. We were talking about the whole total budget at the time, and that's how that was referenced. And our budget is 13 million, and our labor was 33 million. So immediately, it just really doesn't compute if you can just make it 100 million and know that it's 33% then, if that's your labor cost. And so I didn't think it was, I thought to be more pure, because we were approving the entire budget, that you would say what our employee costs were. And they're 33, it's front page, first page. So 113 million revenue, 105 expense, and the employees, the two numbers add up to 33.
Yeah, we did the calculation based on general fund. That was Ashley and I's interpretation of the question. You know, every fund is different. Every fund is a little different as to, you know, penny fund has no labor, for example, you know, so, and water wastewater fund is, as an example, is very heavy in supplies and chemicals and costs, so theirs would be, I think, a lower percentage than some other funds as well. So they all are different, but our calculation we did it based on general fund because that was our interpretation of the conversation.
Well, and John, not to interrupt, but I mean, my interpretation was we were talking about the rollback rate, which is exactly what we talk about when we talk about the general fund as it relates to our tax millage. So that's where I went. So, you know, we may have been talking different talk.
Well, definitely
Yeah.
talking different talk,
That's
yeah.
fair enough.
So we just,
Fair enough.
so we
Yeah,
just
fair enough.
explained it here. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
I'm looking at the whole budget, and that was the number, so. Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to this item, please feel free to do so. Seeing or hearing none, we will come back to the commission. Commissioner Franny, you were the maker of the motion.
Yeah, no, I mean, just to finish up again, I think this is a budget and a budget millage. It's in the best interest of the citizens of Dunedin, and our citizen board, made up of the finance board, strongly felt the same way. I support this budget, and I support the millage.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Krines?
I support this budget, and I support the millage. I was very interested when the Board of Finance came out with such a strong recommendation to keep the 4.1345.
Thank you.
I support the millage rate. I support the budget. Certainly, a lot of it has to do with the decision recommendation from the Board of Finance. But I do want to say that I have really, really enjoyed the conversation. It's been a very important conversation to have and to drill down and really talk about it. So just thank you for everybody for the questions that were asked and the work that was done to get us there. So,
Thank you. Commissioner?
I don't support the millage rate. I had requested a rollback and made a presentation back at the very beginning in May. And really that was based on us giving some relief to some of our residents. But one of the main reasons I continue not to support is I'm not confident in some of the numbers that we've been given. So I know the Board of Finance used the average would be $26 that someone would get back. Well, when you look at averages, it's real simple. You just go to what the whole number is that you could possibly be getting, and that's 1.8 million, and divide it by 24, and that means we've got 54, 52, some number thousand residents here, and we only have 37 residents, people that live here. That's what we have. So something's just not right there. It's much higher than that. And I know when I first started with this, I talked to to the Mike Twitty and the Mike Twitty group to see how I thought this might affect us. And that number is just too low. Look at it much more simply. If it was 1.8 million that we'd be getting back, and that is the total increase. And if we had 18,000 residents, houses, okay? 18,000. And we have 36,000 residents, that would be 2 per resident. That makes some kind of sense. I think the actual number is 1.9. And so you divide that in, and so that's $100. So I wasn't confident in numbers at all. And so I raised that point, and nobody's proven me or given me any other numbers. So, but most importantly, and so that I don't get involved in having any longer of a conversation about this, is I was really looking for some support for our residents, particularly those that are on fixed incomes. I explained all of that, and that you can go back and look at that if anyone wants to. But again, it was really just to support those, to give some relief. And again, I always like to talk about the tithing, and we took in $18.3 million from our ARPA fund, and 1.8 million is 10%, and that would go to the residents. I know we gave money to a lot of different individuals, but we didn't give it across the board to all of the residents. Not that all of the residents would necessarily get this, but a good number would have. So that's why I'll be voting against the millage rate.
Thank you, Commissioner. A couple of things that I think are important is whether the number is 1.4 or 1.8. I think what we all kind of discussed as a group here is that we're not certain what's going to happen in the upcoming year. And what you all showed us at the last hearing was that if, in order to get back to the number we needed to be, if we reduced it and did a rollback, and then next year do a millage increase, it would take a higher millage rate to get to the number we needed to be at. And that was if everything stayed the same, meaning the economy stayed the same, everything. And we just don't know what that's going to be. In the last several weeks, all they're talking about now is about the housing market and how it is lessening. Just a couple days ago, there was an article, Florida's real estate market on shaky ground as economy wavers, making now the best time to sell. And every time the feds raise that interest rate, it makes it harder for somebody to be able to afford to buy a house, let alone at the prices they are. And if you talk to any of your realtor friends, and I certainly have been, they will tell you, if you were waiting for the peak of the market, you've already waited too long because it's going down and housing sales have reduced. And it's happening fast. And there's every indication that the feds will reduce again, or increase the millage, the interest rate again. And so we're going to be pushing, we could be pushing 7%. I bought my house at 22 years ago, I think, at 6.5%. So, I mean, that's some serious stuff, which means, as the values go down, our revenues go down. And it isn't all about that, but if we're trying to at least try to get a sense of what's happening with our economy and how it's going to affect the service that we provide, forget any new projects. A lot of our projects come from penny for Pinellas, which has nothing to do with property tax. I'm talking about things that have to do with property tax. It could be scary, and especially you're already watching banks start to do some, I'll call it creative things to try to get you to take a different kind of a loan. And you're seeing an increase in those adjustable rate mortgages again and all of those things. which leads you, and that's the one piece besides the jobs market that has kind of stayed stable until now. So all I'm saying is I don't think we can afford to do that today without knowing where this is going and the cause and effect on everything. And so I remain committed to my statements at the last meeting, which were, the stability of the organization has to be our number one goal because we provide those services to our residents. We're already, I think, going to need to be cutting projects. We've already talked about cutting projects that don't come from Penny, but come from, property tax. And it'll be hard enough to do it without a millage reduction. With a millage reduction, and then if the economy does get significantly worse, and we try to do a millage rate increase, I mean, what message is that sending? I think stability, consistency is important for our organization, and so that is why I am supporting the millage rate the way it is. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Gowns,
Aye.
Commissioner Torringa,
Nay.
Vice Mayor Kynes,
Aye.
Commissioner Franny,
Aye.
and Mayor Bujowski.
Aye, that motion passes 4-1. All right, now we have Resolution 22-15, which is adopting our final operating and capital budget. Can I have sorry.
I'll go ahead and read it.
Yep, read the resolution by title only.
Resolution 2215, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dunedin, Florida, adopting the final operating and capital budget for the City of Dunedin, Florida for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023, and providing for an effective date. This has been reading of Resolution 2215 for the final budget by title only.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Vice Mayor Kynes and Commissioner Franny, thank you. Les?
Thank you. I'm moving on to the next item, the business plan resolution 22-20.
No, this is still a tentative, the budget.
This is the budget.
I'm sorry, excuse me, okay. Apologize. Get myself confused here.
We all feel.
A few comments on the final budget. First of all, the budget, as Jennifer's mentioned, we had 3 different workshops for the 23 budget. Our city's budget covers fiscal years 23 through 28, that 5-year time frame. And the first budget workshop was on May 31st, and that was our first budget workshop to discuss the business plan. Then we had a workshop after that on July 22nd, workshop 2, and then workshop 3 was August 16th, 2022. And as mentioned, on September 15th, 2022, the City Commission held a public hearing adopting Resolution 22-13, which was establishing the fiscal year 23 tentative budget of $113,017,733 in all city funds. There's been no changes to the budget since the tentative budget was approved and passed by the City Commission on September 15th. And that concludes our comments on the final budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Les on the final budget? No? Okay. Any public input on the final budget? Okay. We will come back to the commission for final comments. Vice Mayor Kynes, maker of the motion.
You don't just do this in a week. We've been working on it since when?
Last year,
Last June.
October 2nd.
Yeah, so I feel like we're at the final denouement of the budget. But we passed the tentative. This is the final for 113,017,733. That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Franny?
No, I mean, we've worked on this a long time. We've dug through all the numbers. You know, we've had to make cuts based on what's going on. And there's a lot of unknowns in the future, but at this point, I support this budget.
Thank you. Commissioner Torn?
Thank you. I am not in support of this budget principally because of the ad valorem rate. And then there were a few subjects that I brought up previously, which included some expenses, for example, at the marina, on a consulting side, et cetera. And I think we need to tighten that up a little bit. So one of the ways that hopefully I can achieve that or have that happen is, well, I won't vote for the budget this time.
Okay.
I do, as I pointed out previously, and I think you need to go back and look at some of the conversations during this time to see how we all felt about these things. I do want to say that the budget was very well crafted, and kudos to the budget team that did that. Lots of work and lots of information, lots of numbers, so it's really not about that at all. So thank you.
Commissioner?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay. I'm in favor of it too. I do think, last time we talked, I know Jennifer, you and Les and Ashley and the team are going to look at how ARPA can be infused into the budget in a different way to be able to move some things out and kind of take the pressure off a little bit. That'll be coming back to us, I'm hoping, in the next month or two. We'll see.
Yes.
I mean, it really depends on our system, to be
Depends-
honest with you, so.
Depends on a couple of things. We acknowledge that, and we will bring it back to you as soon as we can. We did feel that we needed to move forward with adoption of the budget before we did any of that, and now we'll
Sure.
work on that component as well.
And so, you know, the budget is really a snapshot in time. You know, everything doesn't stop. It's just a snapshot in time. And so, you know, if we find additional ways, I mean, the idea was that you would look at, I won't say they're money-saving things, but they're moving the projects around to better suit the situation that we're in. Let's say it that way, because that's, I think, more transparent and honest. You know, that takes a lot of discussion and review, and it also takes looking at our staffing levels, and all of that. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I would not have wanted you to rush into it. You know, I want it to be comprehensive. I think we all want it to be comprehensive, and we know you guys as a team will be comprehensive when you look at it and think about all the things that, you know, an administrator would have to think about that we don't think about, or need to think about. So I think that's important to know that that's still coming. And, you know, with our hiring situation, which is not unusual for every government out there right now, and a lot of private business, to be honest with you, there are positions we cannot fill since COVID. And the only way some of these jobs can get done are consultants. I just need to say that. And I trust, we'll be doing our review of our city manager, and I saw that she got a good review from everybody. I trust her. If she tells me she needs that money for consultants, with all the open positions and the length of time, I mean, there's at least one, if not more than one, position in our budget that has been tried to be filled for 3 years. And it's a desperately needed position. So, you know, I know that there is a thought process about consultants, but again, when you have a full staff, and I say full staff has never even been full staff for us. We have never gone back to the level of staffing that we had pre the Great Recession of '08. We had more employees in '07 or '06 and '07 than we do today, even if we were fully staffed. That's saying something. So, yeah, consultants, you use them to get the job done, and it ends up the idea is that it ends up being more cost efficient. And that might be something you all want to look at and examine the cost of our employee base plus consultants now versus then, because I think it would be telling. I really do. So, having said that, I support the budget. I think we spent many, many hours doing that. I know we have one more piece that we have to approve, right, the business plan. So I'll save my comments about the process and the people until after we do that piece of it, okay? Roll call vote?
Commissioner Tornga.
Nay.
Commissioner Gao.
Aye.
Commissioner Franny.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kynes.
Aye.
And Mayor Bujalski.
Aye, and the motion passes 4-1. We have a start item, which is Resolution 22-20, our municipal billing, business plan. Can I have a motion to add that to the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Vice Mayor Kynes, Commissioner Franny, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, Nikki, can you please read Resolution 22-20 by title only?
Resolution 22-20, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dunedin, Florida, adopting a fiscal year 2023 through fiscal year 2028 municipal business plan for the City of Dunedin, Florida, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Franny and Vice Mayor Kynes, thank you. Leslie?
Thank you. I've been waiting for that. Thank you very much. Just some background briefly on the business plan. Staff presented the draft business plan on May 31st to the commission. That was our first workshop. The business plan today includes 58 initiatives and 106 capital improvement projects with a total cost of $29,820,000 in fiscal year 23. Some key elements in the business plan. The business plan covers 23 to 28 timeframe. It is a comprehensive look at the initiatives and projects the city is pursuing in order to advance towards its long-term strategic goals. The plan is comprised of initiatives and projects that fall into one of the 6 epic goals of the city. In addition, the projects either support or enhance the city's core services and can only be accomplished once the city's core services are met. Maintaining core services is the top priority of the city. The EPIC goals can be found on page 27 of the business plan and also on the city's website. The items in the business plan are separated into 2 categories. The first is business initiatives, and the second are capital improvement projects. Each initiative has a separate project page that provides detailed information for that particular item, and the pages are organized in EPIC goal order. The plan also includes a long-range financial projections for each fund from 23 out to 28. Staff, with the direction of the city manager and the city commission, have been fine-tuning the business plan components over the summer throughout our 3 workshops, developing the budget. Since the last budget workshop on August 16th, 2022, there were a few changes. There were 2 changes that have been made since that workshop, and they are listed in attachment 2 in your staffing. And it's very similar to the information we presented on September 15th. We discussed this at the tentative budget, but the 2 items that did change were we added an interior painting project for the library at a cost of $65,000, and we also there was a project for the North Douglas Pond Weir that's been included as a project in the stormwater fund at a cost of $400,000. That project was originally going to be added to the 22 budget, but was moved to 23. And the last thing I want to mention is that the budget, the fiscal year 23 budget and business plan are both on our city's website, and they're on the finance budget subsection category of the website. That concludes our comments. Be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Les on the business plan?
No.
All of those numbers that you mentioned, the changes and everything, that's in the budget.
Yes, correct.
Just, I heard you, just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Any questions on this end? Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to our annual business plan, please feel free to step forward. Seeing or hearing none, I'll come back for final comments on the business plan. Commissioner Franny.
I'm supportive of the business plan, and as the business plan relates to the budget, and as it relates to the millage. I mean, I think we've talked through all this, a lot of these things. We've pushed some back, we've cut some. We still have more talking to do in that, like you say. It's a living document, snapshot in time. We're going to have our challenges as it is. I haven't actually heard anyone suggest cuts that would amount to any significant cuts that would actually stop us from being able to do this millage rate. I think we talked this through all together, and I'm supportive of it.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, well, I think we pretty well massaged this one, if you want to say. I think we've been on this one. So I'm for it, and again, we've spent months on all of this, so I do want to thank everybody that's worked so hard, because even before you start, all the department heads have to turn in their things, and you all work throughout the year. You know, both of you work throughout the year to bring this budget in. The Board of Finance works very hard. There's a lot of hard decisions just made at the department heads. You know, you all have to make a lot of decisions there before we even start into the long process. So thank you all who worked so hard. Thank you to the department heads, and I'm for it.
Thank you. Commissioner?
I'm so pleased with this process. This doesn't happen overnight, doesn't happen in 2 weeks and a month. And we're always talking the financial condition of the city and projects, and the budget process starts in January, February. It goes all the way through. We have numerous people involved in the process, from advisory committees, the Board of Finance, to staff. It just works incredibly hard. So the numbers here aren't arbitrary, you know, and so it's just, I'm in favor of it.
Thank you. Commissioner Twonka?
Thank you. I'm in favor of the presentation that's being made to us, and we all understand, of course, that this is as you mentioned, I believe, like a living document, and it's a plan, and we work towards that. And there are certain things that we can't control, and when that comes upon us, well, we'll react or act as necessary to ensure that we keep our financial condition in a good spot. There's a couple other things that I would like to make sure that we're doing constantly, and one of them is looking at cost savings or methods that of shortening the process when and where we can. And then second of all was something that I put in something I would like to see for this past year, and that is I think we spend too much time on the budgeting, and I think we should try to shorten that up a little bit. That's not because I'm concerned about the strain on your team, although I am, but also that we spend just a lot of time on it, and that's not in my experience level. So I've not been in another city before, and if this is the way all cities do this, I'm going to start a consulting company and help. But nevertheless, I just want to get that one in because somebody else had to get their less in. So
Fair enough.
So that's just something that I would like to see us work towards, where we can shortening this. Again, because it is a budget that is a living document and can change. And so to spend too much time on it is exasperating. Thank you.
Did I get to everybody? Did I get to everybody? Okay, just me. So I am so pleased with everybody's performance. I remember the days, and I know several of you do, where we were going over line items of postage.
Paper clip.
And paper clips, paper, postage, you know. I mean, us reviewing that does not help the process at all, right? So I do believe that our process has, greatly improved. We're focusing on the things that are really important to our residents, the big items to meet the policies that we've set. And that's part of our job, according to the charter. I'm certainly open to any efficiencies when it comes to the budget. I don't automatically see it, but certainly open to it. I definitely think, our very first strategic planning session, whatever we're going to call it, because it really isn't what it is, but is great because we come in and we're able to talk about new things and get an overview. I would also say that I think with the aid to organizations, I don't think we have to have everybody come up and make presentations. Matter of fact, I think however we handled it, I think that process could be a lot more efficient for the amount of money people are getting. I really do. I think you come forward, make a recommendation, and call it a day. I don't think we have to, but again, we're not making that decision here today.
Because they didn't really do presentations, did they?
Well, everybody got up and spoke. I'm just saying, I don't think it has to be that way.
Sometimes it's appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's another discussion.
Yeah, it is another discussion. I'm just saying, I do think that that's a piece of it that could be much easier.
Yeah, I sort of am going to say, though, I do think that they want to show their presence and that they are appreciative.
It gives the public a chance to see what you're doing. I mean, they give numbers too.
Like I said, I'm open to
Right, yeah, it's
efficiencies. I really am. But as far as this year, I truly think that the innovation, the willingness to come back with numbers that you weren't willing to put in the book, but at least we're willing to show, that's a big deal. A lot of budget people wouldn't do that. But that's what you need. Because a number of other government agencies that I've sat on their boards, it's always henny penny, the world's falling and we're going to be short, and then you come back and you've got $10 million extra when it really comes down to it, I don't like playing those games. Tell me what you really think. And I think because it's transparent and I think the public appreciates that. And it also builds a sense of trust, because what you really think, we'll still have that document this time next year. We'll be looking at it. It builds trust as to how you do your thinking, as a department and as a leadership team. So I'm extremely appreciative of that, as I know my colleagues are. Never in my life have we heard from the Board of Finance that they're so happy.
Thank you all.
Right.
Yeah.
That's you. You're the ones that are
Yeah.
working with them. It just never was that way. And that's a big hurdle that you were able to go over. And I think the most important message we can send to you is that your public service to try to make this budget meet the policies that we've put out to Jennifer while saving money trying to do it. That's a public service to our community. And that's greatly, greatly appreciated, while also keeping our reserves the way they're supposed to be and keeping our AA or AAA credit rating, whichever one it was. I can't remember now, but I don't have it in front of me. All of those things, and watching what we're doing. I can't tell you, over the last year, I will pick up the phone and call this one less. To tell him, I'm seeing something at Visit St. Pete Clearwater, something's changing, we need to watch. He's always happy to hear it. It's not like I'm being a pain to him, and I appreciate that. I don't do it a lot, but if
There's
I
a
see.
really good joke I could throw at that.
Yeah. Not right now, we're being serious.
I know.
That's because there's all kinds of indicators around about what's changing. you know, and we're going to have to start really monitoring the penny. Because if bed tax is dropping, so is the penny. So we have a lot of challenges, and both of you and your teams are greatly appreciated, including you, Jennifer. I think I gave you all outstandings on our budget process. I believe I did that. If I didn't, I should have.
I'll let you change it if you did.
I'll change it if I didn't, but I'm pretty sure I did. I'm pretty sure I did. Because it was, you know, it gives us a chance to talk things through and to ask questions. And I do think you should go back with all the extra time you have. You know, and maybe you can bring that to us with the, when you bring back the ARPA, maybe you can look at the cost of employees with consultants now versus then. Because I think you're going to find something. And if you want to just do it on the general fund, I'm fine with that. If you want to do it on the whole organization, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever you think makes the most sense. But I think that's important to see. Because I think it's telling. All right, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Gao?
Aye.
Commissioner Torga?
What are we voting on here?
The
Seriously?
business plan.
Resolution 22.
Okay, I got kind of lost in the last conversation. Thank you very much for allowing me to just make sure I was clear about this. Yes, aye.
Vice Mayor Kynes?
Aye.
Commissioner Franny?
Aye.
And Mayor Bujalski?
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. Jennifer, did you have any final comments that you wanted to make? I didn't give you that, so.
No, thank you very much, Mayor. And thank you to all of you, too, for your patience as we go through the budget process. And as you said, we've had many, many good discussions. Some requests for information. We, as staff, our goal is to give you the information and to give it to you objectively. And because, you know, whatever question you have, we need to answer that question specifically and thoroughly. And I hope that we did that for all of you. And I think it's a very supportive, useful operating budget, and the capital improvement plan as well. Lots to do inherent within it. And I too want to thank Les and Ashley and the rest of the finance department too. You know, they're working on other aspects, but it's all you know, they support each other. And I'll talk about it when I get my evaluation, but it's not lost on me that one of the areas that we've made vast improvements in is finance and budgeting. And so I'm very grateful to the finance department for that. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right, now we have the first reading of ordinance 22-19, which is repealing and replacing our commission-appointed committee and board regulate rules and regs.
Ordinance 22-19, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, repealing Ordinance 0139 and Ordinance 1145 regarding member attendance at commission-appointed committee and board meetings in their entirety, repealing Section 2245B of the Code of Ordinances, City of Dunedin, Florida, regarding code enforcement board member meeting attendance, providing for publication in accordance with the requirements of law, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And this has been reading of Ordinance 22-19 on first reading by title only. And I'll go ahead and take the background on this for Michelle. If
Let me
that's-
get my motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Vice Mayor Kynes, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Franny, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry about that.
okay.
At the January 4th, 2022 work session, the City Commission gave consensus and direction to rewrite certain rules and procedures, including the attendance regarding your City Commission appointed boards and committees. At that time, it was identified that there were two historical or non-codified ordinances that also governed attendance. And the City Commission asked for us to also look into whether there were other code provisions governing attendance that would be impacted by streamlining all of the attendance and procedure requirements into one resolution. So what you have before you is a repeal of those two historical ordinances, as well as a repeal of one section of the city code that dealt with one of your city-appointed bodies, which was the Code Enforcement Board. So that's not that there's not going to be attendance requirements. We're going to get to that on your next agenda item, but this is the housekeeping, what we'll call it, of cleaning up those conflicting ordinances, and rather than just cleaning that up by saying all ordinances in conflict are repealed, which doesn't sufficiently identify the ordinance title. This makes it, I think, hopefully much easier for the clerk's office to know exactly what is being repealed. Those are the ordinances that are no longer in effect, and that's the item you have before you tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, but that's really the whole of it.
Questions?
You know, I really liked it until you started throwing out historic ordinances. You know, I don't like to repeal anything historic. So, no, I understand. It's the repeal before you can get to the new.
Any questions? No. Questions?
Well, in honor of Vice Mayor's last hurrah, I refuse to throw out a historic ordinance. Therefore, no, just kidding. I have no questions.
This is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to come forward and speak to this item, please feel free to do so. I don't see anybody. All right, any final comments, Commissioner? Vice Mayor?
No.
Commissioner? Commissioner?
I'm continually desirous to ensure that we have effective and better communication with our boards and committees. I've presented that several times over the number of years, and I think we really need to work towards that, but I appreciate everybody shaking their heads, so I'm out of material about that.
Any final comments?
I mean,
Okay, roll call vote.
Commissioner Torringa?
Aye.
Commissioner Gao?
aye.
Commissioner Franny?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kynes?
Aye.
And Mayor Bujalski?
Aye, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Resolution 22-22.
Yes.
Establishing those rules.
And I will read that. I just wanted to announce that the second reading will be November 3rd
Oh,
for
sorry.
that one. That's okay. That it will be, I didn't know if you had the date right in front of you. Second
I
reading.
did, and I just passed right over it. It's usually in a different color.
No problem. That will be.
And we're system challenged, so I
we
just
are
went
system
right past it.
That will be November
Sorry.
3rd. That will be November
Thank you.
3rd. No problem. Resolution 22-22, a resolution of the City of Dunedin, Florida, establishing certain rules of procedures for city-appointed boards and committees, repealing Resolution 1606 in its entirety and all resolutions in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. This has been reading of Resolution 22-22 by title only.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Franny and Vice Mayor Kynes, thank you.
So I'll take this one as well, on the same direction. We worked with the city clerk's office to incorporate all of the changes requested by the city commission to have comprehensive and consistent rules of procedure for commission-appointed boards and committees. And so that's what you see before you is readopted. And I thought we had a red line, but I can go ahead and point out some of the.
We do. We have a red line.
Great.
I couldn't see
I just
it.
didn't open that one. So that.
Yeah, we have it.
The one that will be right. So there you can see the different changes directed by the city commission, and the most or salient to what you just repealed, you'll see at the end there are consistent attendance requirements that are memorialized in that
everybody.
resolution.
For everybody.
Correct.
It's 3 that are non-excused, correct? 3 in a row that are non-excused.
Correct.
Or less than 50.
Or 50.
You know, if you open a meeting without quorum. I
Well,
mean,
quorum and sunshine requirements are different, but you're right, you can't get any business done,
can't
and
get
there's
any
no,
business done.
and there's, you know, where you all might decide, oh, we've got to table something, we're not, those boards really exist to serve you, so they don't have the same option of, we're just going to continue this to next month when we can get a quorum. They really need to find ways to keep your matters, you know, making those recommendations to you and doing that good work to feed it up the pipeline. So it is a challenge when they can't take official action, for sure.
Correct. That's what I meant. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, yeah, just about the document overall.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because these are all the things we've already decided
Yeah,
on.
you guys have.
We decided and
it.
discussed, this is just the wording of it.
And I thank the clerk's office too, because they went through line by line and tried to make sure that they captured word for word each of your changes, so.
Well, I'm just going to make a comment on 2 items. I'm sure we discussed it, but I just want to, at least in theory, be on the record and see if everybody else agrees. In the reality of doing the committees, sometimes some people do not want to be chair. They do not want to be vice chair. So again, I don't want committees to be under any misunderstanding that, yes, in the perfect world, you should rotate. If you can't, the committee elects, and it can be the same chair a couple years in a row if that's the only one that steps up. I think that may be, and then my one that I actually continue to be concerned about, because I get comments about this, is that, and it's, it's said, it is suggested that applicants who have been on a committee appointment list the longest be given priority to give them the opportunity to serve. I agree with that, but sometimes the interest of the skill set you need, or, just the mix of what it is, does not, I don't want people to feel forced. I hear that again and again. Like, that you feel somewhat forced to pick the next in line, even if the next in line is, in the committee's point of view, the less candidate for the best interest of the committee to fill a skill set. So I think that we're on the same board. It's suggested. Obviously, in a perfect world, it is the next person in line. But again, I don't want people to feel forced that if it doesn't make sense, that the next in line gets it over somebody who they really need a skill set. So I'm going on the record with that, just so it's clear, so.
You've been on the record about that for a
Well, I
while.
am, because I hear about it,
And we discussed it.
and I'm not going to
And
bring
it's
up.
not forcing it in here.
I agree, but it's, in my perfect world, we'd say, although we want you to do what's in the best interest of a committee, it's still suggested that you pick the person at the next
I
priority.
would look at it as a suggestion, isn't it? I mean,
It is, it's not a force.
yeah, I mean.
It is not a force,
suggestion
because that's what we all agreed
because
to.
But there's
that-
no real change in this wording, and people continue to feel that the message from this commission has been, you must take the next in line.
Well, but
I'm just going on the record for
gonna
that.
give you the
And I agree, there's
alternative
some-
side.
I
The alternative
understand
side
the
is the
alternative
system, is, we put that in writing for a reason. Because, people are on the list for a very long time that did have the skill set, and which sometimes I do question, and absolutely had the skill set, and weren't picked in lieu of somebody's friend who applied a week before the time to apply. So, it just has to be stated.
It does, but we do have to trust our committees. We have a lot of great committees who work hard at selecting the person that really kind of fits.
No,
But I agree.
I agree, we just have to,
Right,
and
and
that's what we did, we made it,
And if there's some situations where that's not happening.
well, we'll see
Then there
it.
should be individual discussions, with the committee that, like, we're watching what you're doing and it's not making common sense.
You have the exact wordings of that?
There's 2 provisions that at least I can tell, that are being discussed under the vacancy provisions. Is that what so?
Yeah, it's the second bullet under the vacancy.
But there's actually another one that addresses this as well. So the second bullet states, it is suggested that applicants who have been on a committee appointment list the longest be given priority to give them an opportunity to serve the city. So it's written as a suggestion, but I hear you, Commissioner. And then there's a second aspect that is, and this is, by the way, the committees make a recommendation to you for appointment. So I know we're clear on
Doing the
that.
appointing.
But right,
Right, and
exactly.
so we are the backup check.
And their recommended appointments to the city commission must be approved by a city commission vote. And when a regular member vacancy occurs, there's another sort of preference area that says the committees should consider the alternate who has served in that alternate position the longest to be the first to move up to regular membership. So you have both people who have been on the applicant waiting list for a long time, wanting to be on that particular committee, or maybe several committees they may have applied for. And then you have the alternates who may be serving in that alternate role, that also have a recommendation that they be given preference. Those are both suggestions and recommendations by the language. So I can hear what you're saying, but the language itself does not actually bind the commission or the committee's recommendation. Should they believe that, there's specific qualifications or a person that they want you all to consider outside of those recommendations and suggestions.
No, I agree. Thank you for that legal
No problem.
interpretation.
Let's just say, Commissioner Torga asked me to read it, so I can't just read something and not say something about
I do
it.
think it's important to say that we did have this discussion in great detail, and we gave consensus direction. So in fairness to that past discussion, I don't think we should get into it any further anymore. I mean, if somebody wants to propose a change, I think it's, I don't want to go down that road.
I'd like to just make a comment if I may.
Sure. Oh, well, we are in the questioning time, but go ahead.
All right, do you want to, okay, I thought you were going to take it, move along. Okay, I'll wait for comment.
I just want to make sure staff understands so that staff was all, that we're on the same page. That, it truly is a suggestion. We don't want you to do something that doesn't make sense for the best interest of the committee. Just want to be on the record. Sometimes you and I speak a different speak on that, and I think, I'll hear that from committee, like, well, no, we heard, no, you have to pick the next one. I just want it to be clear from us, because we're who they rely on to interpret that, so.
Well, but I think that's the liaison,
I
it's the
understand.
staff liaison that is the communicator to the committee. And I know we have a whole plan of reviewing all of these other things with the committees. It got put off because of what's happening in our clerk's office. And I assume that, maybe after the holidays, when things settle down just a little bit, that maybe we'll be able to get back to it, which I also think will help solve some of this. Right?
Yes.
I would hope so, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's a very good answer.
We're
We can move
also meeting on a regular basis. Rebecca has instituted regular quarterly meetings of all the liaisons, so we're all giving the committees and the boards the same information.
Right. Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to this item? Okay. Come back to the commission. Commissioner Franny, any more final comments?
I think I've said enough.
Okay. Vice Mayor Kynes?
I think it's important to know, in some ways, this is almost a living document. I mean, because we have given our best shot at trying to give them some rules to guide them without strangling their creativity. So that's my final comment.
I couldn't have said that any better. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Commissioner Torga?
Thank you. I've had numerous conversations with the city manager, again this week, about that same subject of what you brought up. And I was it was acceptable to me to say that it's suggested, and also that she's having the meetings with the liaisons to make sure that they understand what our intention was here. So that we
Thank you,
don't.
John.
Thank you. No, great. No, great
No, I'm
comment.
glad-
No, great comment. And so that, it's a suggestion. It doesn't have to be. And you're exactly correct, because I've listened to them. And way more than one has said, no, we have to pick the next person. And for example, I've been on boards where, yes, your first vice president becomes the president, or your vice chair becomes the chair each year, on a yearly basis. It just turns over. I'm on a nominating committee right now where the chair has been in there forever and is going to stay in there forever. So we don't move, and the person below them, in this particular case, does not want to move. Does not want to move and does not want that position, and wouldn't, but is ideal for what they're doing in that organization. So I really appreciate you brought that up, and we've had numerous conversations, and I think that's good that we said that here. I know it's a lot of talk, but it's important. If our committees are important, then the organization's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gow?
I just don't want to lose sight of the spirit of our advisory committees. And, the history of Dunedin is a history of citizen involvement and being engaged. And as we tighten things up and it's become more formal, it can take the joy and the fun out of it. And that's my only real concern, is that, you know, if I want to use a high school band analogy, that what's wrong with that kid that just wants to play trumpet in their high school band? But so many bands are so focused on becoming the #1 band in the county that there's no place for the kid that just wants to be involved. They're all looking for that expert trumpet player, that expert, win all these advisory committees, and that there's no room for the resident that just wants to give back.
And I think that's
And that's my concern.
And that's where it goes to the oldest person on the list, because not every committee.
The longest on the list.
Sorry, that's what I meant. That's what I meant, because there are committees that, you know, they just want to be involved,
Right.
you know, and this is a subject that is of interest.
Yeah.
And, you know, offering it to them, I've seen that over and over. So that's why this is here the way it is, because it's a balance. It is a balance.
And I'm not certainly suggesting that we're a hierarchy of skills and who's got the best degree, nothing like that. The average citizen deserves the plate at the table. That's not what I'm saying.
Which is
But to
what that's-
force an absolute selection can
But we're
cause
not.
more damage than good.
But we're
I
not.
understand we're not, but our message should be very clear, and it's been
But
made clear.
But I also think
Right.
that when you put the message out there, you've got to define situations.
All right, no, I think
I mean.
that Commissioner Tonga said it right. He's had a conversation with the city manager. It's all in the communication of it, right?
It is, because.
And I think you understand that, and I think we've talked it to death. You probably more than understand it now, right?
Anyway, back to Jeff, I didn't mean to jump on you. I didn't mean to, you know, but I was totally agreeing with you.
Right.
That is the purpose of this, is that person that just particularly likes that subject matter and wants to be involved and is on a list for 8 years, they never get a shot.
Right.
That's disappointing. So, I mean, all of those pieces have to be examined.
And I know it's not easy, right? Because there's all kinds of skill sets in every one of those applications. And in choosing that, and you're absolutely right. So that's why there's no real answer. Because I've also been in those committee meetings where they're discussing applicants, and they even have comments about applicants that apply for several committees. And in all honesty, that would be me. I may not have one skill set. My desire is just to be involved somewhere, but if I'm never given that opportunity,
Right.
that, you know, that can be disheartening, because I think that our resident involvement is our golden egg, and it really is what makes us different from other communities. And so the spirit of it is my thing, but
But, you know.
I'm in favor of the changes.
Truly, there is a difference between skill set and interest. You can be interested, really interested in something you don't have a per se skill set in.
Right, oh, absolutely.
And so there's some delineations, you know, people, they want to learn about something, and if they're there and learning and volunteering, you know, then you don't maybe have to have a specific skill set, but you always have to have the love of community and the interest.
Oh, and I think the fact that they put in the application is a reflection of that. Right.
Did I open for public comment? I don't remember.
You did, but.
I did?
Still no one wants to talk to us?
Okay.
They don't.
I think I said
Especially
everything.
now.
I think I said everything I
I
needed
think we
to say.
scared anybody
Okay.
I
else.
believe you did too, but always nice, it's always good to double check. There's been more discussion, so why
Roll
not?
call?
Commissioner Gao,
Aye.
Commissioner Torga,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kynes,
Aye.
Commissioner Franny,
Aye.
and Mayor Bujalski.
Aye, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you for the good conversation. All right, now we move on to the city manager's annual performance evaluation. Scary.
She's like, don't get too upset, the item before, you know.
You could talk yourselves out on that one, that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I thought, maybe we were expending so much energy on that.
Okay, so, I think what we'll do is I'll just go in order, I guess, of seniority, are you gonna, I'm sorry, I could let you have an opening if you would like. Do you really want an opening?
As long as I'm sitting here.
Yeah, as long as she's come to the
Okay,
meeting.
girl, you got it. Dr. Smalling, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. Teresa Smalling, Director of HR and Risk Management for the city. As you all know, Jennifer celebrated her 5th anniversary with the city on August 28th of this year, which also brings on an annual evaluation. And all of you were given the necessary documentation to sit with Jennifer, discuss her performance over the past year, her accomplishments, her goals for the upcoming year, and all those results have been compiled for your review and comment. So now feel free to review and comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Jennifer gave us her accomplishments by epic goal to refer to. I say her accomplishments, but the things that she oversaw from the policies that we set. So each one of us did a review. Online, you can look at the combined efforts. I apologize greatly to my colleagues for being so late and getting mine in. I think I was the first one last year and probably the last one this year, so it's just been one of those kind of things going on.
And you might have scolded a couple that were late last
Oh,
year.
yeah, I did. I think
But
I
I'm not
did.
going to be like that, you know?
You're not gonna,
You're
you're
so
not gonna
good.
hold that against her.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I took a low-key summer, that's what I did. Anyway, so I think what we'll do is, I think I'll just go to each commission member. You can talk about, whatever areas on the review that you want to,
Can I
on
just
your own.
suggest-
And
Are we going to, talk about the review first and then the goals for
Yes.
next year? Okay.
Yes,
so
the
one-
goals are separate.
Okay.
Yep. So,
and I-
let's talk about the past versus the future first.
Right, but I have one more question. When are
Sure.
will you be taking citizen comments at some point?
Mhm.
Okay, because I have citizen comments that were ready to be done last time, but they weren't here, so I just need to read them on that citizen's behalf.
Okay. All right, so I'll start with Vice Mayor. I'll just go in order of seniority.
Okay, so what are we starting on?
The review of this past year with Jennifer and how, what were, anything you want to say about her?
Yeah, I mean, I think my best thing I said was that I really think overall she's the best city manager I've ever worked with.
Yep,
Thank you.
did.
That's epic.
It
I
is
saw that.
epic.
I think that caught me.
Thank you very much.
So, I gave her very high marks. She's been through an awful lot. She's going to start thinking that, it's like, I don't know, the plague to come to Dunedin. She's been through hurricanes, plague.
Yeah, well, she brought it with her, darn it.
I mean,
That's what I'm worried about.
you've been through an awful,
Yeah, you don't wanna be the
been through
cause of
an
the
awful
plague.
lot. And, I've always felt that, when you come down to anything, it's always a matter of trust. That's the heart of the matter. And I felt like I could trust. I think she's highly ethical. I've tried. Now, what do you sort of think? Maybe, I don't know, I'm worried about, she says, I'm not going to talk to you. I go, I know, and I respect that, but I do appreciate her ethics, and I think we're really lucky. That's it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Franny?
Oh, I'm the next in seniority, okay. Well, I mean, I gave Jennifer an excellent, outstanding evaluation. I tell her all the time how I feel. She knows that. I think she's a great city manager. I think we are very lucky, Jennifer, to have you. It was funny, as you said trust, I was writing trust, because that was the main thing I wanted to say. Great city managers create trust. They become an honest broker with their whole commission. They don't show favoritism. They just try to bring the facts home and play it straight. And you're a great city manager. I mean, you do that. And it makes our job my job so much easier because, when you have the trust, you don't feel like you're all, that's a whole piece you got to worry about all the time. And I've seen it, I've seen commissions that, run around with their tail between their legs, chasing their tail because they don't know what their city manager is up to because there's no trust. And there's such trust here. So, I don't know, I put it in here, high integrity, very competent, talented problem solver, extremely committed to Dunedin community. I'll say it again, when we first hired you, I wanted somebody highly competent that created trust among the commission, but who actually felt the joy of Dunedin. And we got that because you live and breathe the joy of Dunedin. You're at things, you're involved, you love it here. And your family loves to come here. And, those are pieces that you can't, you just, it's hard to get that in one person. You're a good communicator, you reach out, state, county, city, you've built great relationships, good communicator, your staff team, again, you know how to hire good people and surround yourself with people. I was actually saying something to somebody today about, to me, the best leaders surround themselves with great people. They are not afraid to hire people smarter than them. I'm not suggesting your team is all smarter than you,
Oh, they
but
all
you're
are.
not afraid to hire that because you want the best and the brightest around you in their expertise area. So you've had a lot on your plate. I look at the accomplishments that you've had, and it's mind-boggling. When you look at your accomplishments, it's like it matches up against any city manager anywhere. So I respect the job you're doing, Jennifer. I do feel we're very lucky to have you, and I want to thank you because I know you work hard.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Gao?
I've got to follow that. I'm basically a ditto. It is really nice that the overall feeling is trust, and that you do have your best intentions with the city and everything that happens from the residents to the commission to staff. It's wonderful, and I know that we talk all the time that we're a small city that thinks we're big, and that's absolutely true. And I can only imagine for new people coming in, not that you're new at this point, but almost maybe still settling in, that it must take some time to really understand that. And that we do have, there's a lot of passion in this city, and that you have embraced it and become part of that. And what you have done, certainly if you look at your accomplishments, Commissioner Freeney was absolutely right. They really are amazing, and the fact that those aren't just your accomplishments, those are our accomplishments. And those are staff's accomplishments, and the residents should be proud of what we've accomplished. And so just thank you for giving us a lot of comfort. I've never had it's hard when I've never had the experience of a bad city manager, so it's hard for me to compare with anybody. But you're amazing. You're the person I would want to be as a city manager. I love the connections that you have with other governmental leaders, the relationship you have with the county, which is incredibly important. And the fact that it just from those relationships, it seems reciprocal, that they also have a lot of respect for you, and that also means they have a lot of respect for Dunedin, and that is important because Dunedin has a lot of asks, and we always need to be in a positive light. And so you just kind of really keep it there, and your focus is always on the infrastructure and making sure that all that basic stuff we don't have to worry about is done, so that then we can focus on those epic goals and really do some amazing things. So overall, Jennifer, you're doing a fabulous job. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Torga?
Interesting always in having an annual review, isn't it? So we had that together.
We did.
And we got to discuss this. So for those who are listening, perhaps, I'm just going to go down the list here and sort of how I rated this. I also am going to make a comment that at some point in time, I think I would like to see us review this evaluation. Perhaps getting input from us as to things we might like to see a little different or changed. And there's nothing wrong with what we did here. But I think we should take a look at it together at some point. So we talk about relations with commission, and we have to go through a whole evaluation with that, and I gave that an excellent, as you know, as we discussed. And then we talked about organizational relations. And there was 3 categories: financial management, and of course we have an excellent financial department, and we got a great Board of Finance, which is in our charter, and they pay attention to a number of things, and they're always concerned about our ratings, and so are you. And so the personnel management for me is a little more difficult, and you and I talked about that. I don't get to see enough of that, and in my organizational experiences, et cetera, I really like to see more of that so that I can really evaluate it. I don't see any problems, so we discussed that.
We did.
But I just don't have any great experiences with that. I don't hang around here. I don't hang around in the department. You don't want me to hang around in the department, so.
And you're not supposed to, right? And that's not our role.
Exactly. So for me to, it's tough for me to really, but I have no problem, so. And then we talked about relations with, I'm sorry, we go to the managing the organization. And again, I gave an excellent to that, but that's also difficult because I don't see that. I mean, I don't get to observe that. I don't watch that close enough. But I don't hear any issues, and I don't see any, and I keep my eyes open for certain. The other thing is working with other government organizations, et cetera, and I gave that an excellent. So I think we're fine on that side. That's really for the evaluation. Then the rest of it are the comments later that we're going to make. Correct, Mayor? Mm-hmm. And then I have a couple other comments to make. But so we had a great meeting, I thought, yes, and a good conversation. Mm-hmm. And you have the incredibly, I'm going to just say, interesting relationship having 5 of us.
Yeah, that's tough.
I do.
Wow. So
It's called wine.
just having her and me would be enough.
I'll second that, John.
Just like I knew I could go to you with that one. Abbott and Costello. No, we're not. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So in my overall, I'll agree with that too, by the way. In my overall, I couldn't resist. In my overall comments, which is not by section, I was pretty simple because I was pretty wordy in my other comments. And I just said, as I indicated, I'm very satisfied with Jennifer's public service to the organization, our employees, the commission, as well as the public, and we are lucky to have her at the helm. So that sums it up pretty well for me. I gave her all excellence and outstanding in all the categories that John just described, so I won't go over it all and belabor it. People can read it online. I think some of your strongest points are, I can tell, I mean, I think I can tell about the organization by the work product that we get from the department heads. You know? And so to me, if the work product and the thought process when they're explaining something to us is there, well, that's because it went through her. And she approved it and understood the thought process as well. So that's the only way I can see the organization itself, because I'm not here all the time either. Matter of fact, I'm not here much at all. What I think is important, though, is even, I mean, in my one-on-ones, when you don't agree with something, which, by the way, she makes a noise. I can tell when she doesn't agree with certain things. Never mind. It's inside joke.
It's like a growl.
Yeah, no, it's like,
You gotta growl with this one, come on, you know?
she listens,
We never,
and then says nothing.
Yeah, we know.
Then it's silent,
She may be the biggest
But, you know,
problem, not us.
She looks at the organization on a whole and says, is the decision that I'm making the best for the organization on a whole? It might not be best for me. Meaning, I don't mean me, I mean you. But if it's best for the organization on a whole, that's the direction we need to go. That does take a lot of ethics and self-control and vision, really, to do that. And I always appreciate that. I appreciate you being willing to reconsider something. You know, I mean, I can think of several things over the years, okay, that you've been here, 5 years, where I might have said something to you about something 3 years ago, and you had a different way of solving it, and it was fine. But then there were other things that you had a different way of solving it, and it wasn't fine, and you were willing to go back to the idea. I appreciate your openness to do that, and to see it. You know, so I feel like you are an excellent leader. Excellent. I think your team, well, they'd follow you into a hurricane, as we saw last week, which was not a part of your review, by the way. That'll be next year. We just have to remember it. I mean, there's a lot of other things I could say. I don't want to belabor it, though. Very happy. There's a long list of things you worked on. But again, I'm not going to go through that. So do you want to read your citizen comment now,
Sure.
before we get to the
Well,
the raised part and the goals?
Sure, so Dwayne Wright was going to say this himself at the last meeting when it got postponed. He's lives on New York Avenue, and he had given it to Jennifer, and I proceeded to take it so that I could read it, because she probably wouldn't read it, because it's very complimentary. I have interacted with Jennifer over the years, and in my opinion, we are fortunate to have her. How she manages all of the moving parts of running a small town with big city issues is beyond me, along with working with you, meaning us, her immediate supervisors, and a diverse citizenry who all have individual concerns, and he said including himself, having concerns. Although there are times we do not agree on solutions or paths, I will say that she still has my respect. I wish her continued success as she guides you and future commissions forward.
Very nice.
That was nice.
And now,
Dwayne,
that needs to go into the record, probably,
Yeah, that's,
to the clerk.
All right, anybody else wish to come forward and give citizen input? All right, so I'm going to come back to the annual increase. It looks to me by the notes, but tell me if, I think there's 4 of us that said commensurate with the employees and 1 of us that said something different. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes,
I said commensurate with the employees.
Right.
Yep.
yes.
Didn't we all?
No. John, did you want to suggest something different?
not necessarily, but I'll make a comment if you'd like.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's up to you. Whatever you
Sure,
want to do.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I put down 3%, and the reason why I put down 3% is I just picked a number, honestly, that was less than the 4%. So it was the next number down. And I did that because what sits in my mind right now is we have inflation. I don't care whether we want to discuss it or not, that we have it, or we have a recession. I don't care if we want to discuss that or not. I don't care to. But we have wage inflation, and the wage inflation is what's driving all of this. And that's what's driving the Fed right now. And that's what will drive the Fed into slowing us even more, or for those who don't think we're in a recession, to put us in a recession. I'm not talking about Dunedin necessarily, I'm talking about our country. And so the word is, when you hear the word inflation, it is not food inflation. We have food inflation, it's follows the other one. And then we have fuel inflation. But wage inflation is the biggest concern that we have right now. And that is a concern that the Fed is after. That's what they're talking about all the time. So I just needed to make that comment at the highest level and did so. And I would have done that I probably would have done it even less than that in a regular company that was working on the outside. I would have left the 4% for the employees and probably have said something even less than the 3%. And that's why I put 3%. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll look at my colleagues. Does somebody want to make a
I move
motion?
that we give the city manager 4% pay increase, and I believe that is commensurate with employees, correct?
Yes, employees are getting a 4% lump sum COLA. Not lump sum, but COLA this year.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Okay.
You were confusing me with the lump sum.
Sorry.
It's okay. So, yes, so that is what I recommend.
And I second.
Okay, so Commissioner Franny and Vice Mayor Kynes. All right, any final comments or?
No, I think that for all the reasons we just said, our city manager, John, I respect your comments, but I'm not sure we're in that category of inflating our salaries unnecessarily. As a matter of fact, we may be behind. So we definitely will be talking about that issue when we look at our wage and salary survey. And we don't want to go, we want to be careful not to fall into that trap and make the situation worse. But I think, again, for all the reasons up here, making the increase commensurate with employees is fair and right, and that's what, in my opinion, is the right way to go.
Vice Mayor? You don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
You know what? I mean, I think our employees have earned it, and I think she's earned it.
Commissioner?
She's earned it.
Any other final comments, Commissioner? Okay. I agree. I think she's earned it. And again, I'll go back and say that when we talked about doing the study for our employees, when we did go through the recession in '08, we significantly reduced the amount of increases and sometimes gave none, but reduced the amount of increases that we gave to everybody, which kind of got us to the place we're in. I don't want to do that again. And, it's a balanced view. There have been a lot of heavy issues that we've had this past year. A lot of overtime worked by you. Just a lot of things, and I think you deserve the raise, and I totally support it. So we'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Torringa.
Aye.
Commissioner Gao.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kynes.
Aye.
Commissioner Franny.
Aye.
And Mayor Bujalski.
Aye, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Real quick, Teresa, do you know when we're going to get that study? I'm guessing systems down is probably a problem for that as well.
Yes, we had gotten some preliminary numbers, but we were working on some more
Okay.
numbers before the system went down.
Sure.
So
Okay.
we have a tentative meeting next week. We're just checking on Jennifer's calendar.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then we have the objectives for the upcoming year. Now, I always looked at these as things that were maybe different than what's already in the business plan. That's the way I tried to write my stuff. I think most people tried to do that. Okay, so I'll start with Commissioner Kynes. Anything that, I saw what your objectives are. Did you see any other things that concerned you?
I'm trying to find my objectives. I was hopping right over to the next thing, so,
Gotcha.
excuse me. Okay, I'm just going to say, I'm trying not to talk a lot tonight, so now I can talk, right? So my things are to Stop!
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I know you all will be dealing with all of this, but do figure out a very cool project for either the city hall or the land upon which it sits. I said, thank you, brick streets are finally in the budget. Hallelujah. We need some real creative marketing for historic preservation because we need to really be able to succinctly tell people what the benefits are.
Right.
And I did want to say kudos to Art in Public Places. It's very important, and I'm very pleased that we have come so far with the PAMP and with the Public Art Master Plan. And then, you know, I won't be here, and it might take 2 or 3 years, but I guess I'm going to leave it in your hands, Jennifer, also, that I would love to see, may take a few years, but to actually have some historic districts in our little bungalow areas.
Does anybody in the world think that she isn't going to be following up on every one of those things on a regular
Not me, man.
basis? Because,
She'll be right there.
Oh,
She'll
she
call,
will.
She'll be, you know.
He talks like she's leaving town.
We know that's not true.
no, she's going to get her hind end on the Arts and Culture Committee. That's what she's going to do.
Art and historic preservation.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Franny?
I
I mean, you can go over your own, or if you have concerns with other ones, whatever, because I mean.
Well, my number one was, put number one as the reason, which was successful completion of the downtown task force with workable solutions and appropriate code changes. I think that, you know, there's a lot of stir, there's a lot of things there, and the sooner we can effectively get the things that really need code changes and get them done, the better.
Right.
And I know on different levels, there's been a lot of frustration with that. But again, I think it's, you know, it's growing pains for our downtown. And, but again, I think the swifter the action, I mean, obviously you got to do it effectively, but the swifter the action, the better. So to me, my eye is way on that ball. So, and then obviously we talked about the paying class study, which again, it's a large part of our budget. And it's a very important part. They're the backbone of the city. So I think, again, bringing that in, and again, I think Commissioner Torringa obviously brings up an important item. You know, like, we want to be market and balanced, but we do have to be careful of wage inflation as we look at that. And I think, you know, we've talked about that and how the study comes forward and making sure that we don't, you know, overdo versus do what's appropriate and make sure we're being fair and market sensitive. Let's see if there's another one that's important. I'm not going to talk about all of them. You know, I put this every year, continue to navigate the city's budget challenges, because again, as we look at those budgets, like, we are going to have challenges, and we know that we don't know what we face. Right. And we already know we're having a lot of cost factors come into play for us. We do a survey to try to understand the things that are important to our residents. And we try to live up to that, and they're used to quality services, and we certainly want to continue. But I think it's going to, you know, you look at those numbers, and you know it's going to be a challenge to live within the millage rate that we do have, and that's certainly my goal, to keep that as a very steady millage rate, and regardless of our ups and downs. So that's my goal, and I know that challenge, you know, is one of the great ones. The good news is we've got a great, very objective finance director and staff that really tries to give us good stuff and think through these things. So that's really huge. And of course, you know, none the least of which we never intended to, you know, own and run the golf club, but that's where we are because it's such an important asset. So, you know, I look at the goals of everyone, and including mine, and, you know, Dunedin never sleeps.
Wow.
There's a lot to do.
We are a small
and
city with big city things.
is exactly right. So, you know, that's my own comments. So.
Okay, Commissioner Gao?
You know, I look at this list, and 4 commissioners and a mayor up here, and we're all giving her list of goals, and and you
Not
wonder.
that far off, though, are they?
No, well, and that's what.
They're not. They're.
And as we're all talking, they're all kind of.
Similar.
It's interesting how they're different, but they all have the same theme and undertones, and it's, I did keep mine kind of succinct.
You did.
Because
Two.
those are
Give
the
us your
things,
goals.
those are the things that I think, those are important foundational issues.
Right.
Right, that we've all kind of hit about the financial stability of the city is kind of a thread through all our comments. But that is our foundation. If we don't maintain that stability in our own financial status, then things can go downhill quickly. And I think a lot of the successes we've had recently is because not only the financial position of the city, but that bond rating as well has given us the ability to do wonderful things. So it's really important. Without those, there's not a lot more we can do. And towards resiliency and sustainability, and that sounds environmental, and it is. But also, and I know that Mayor, you had mentioned, we talked about the hurricane next year in the evaluation, but that is what that is leading toward, and making sure that the city, we have to start being serious about our resiliency and making sure that we can do the best we can in regarding what Fort Myers is going through now. And that's an incredibly
That can
heavy
be
lift.
millions.
Right,
Right, so there's a
but we
lot
have
to
to start
consider.
having those conversations and talking, what does that look like, et cetera. So that's kind of where my head was with these goals.
Thank you. Commissioner Torga?
Thank you, Mayor. What are we supposed to do now?
Well, we're
I'm
talking.
kidding, I'm
we're
kidding. That was
talking-
I knew you were.
Future goals.
I was just trying to see if she were awake. But we all know she is.
Yeah, no, I had to think for a minute.
No problem.
I did.
No problem. Well, I've listed some things here, and some of them were passed, and I did this because some of these things never stop. And one of them may rear its, shall we say, ugly head up, and that's this ensure the levels of reserves. And that's just a general cautious for all of us on the financial side, and you all know my position on that. And then I talked about, came back and talked about the ARPA, because again, when we first spoke, I was very concerned about infrastructure, et cetera. And then I also saw that as perhaps a help for us to lighten up the load when we talked even about the rollback. Not directly, I understand the requirements for that. There's ways to do that. So I left that in there because that's not done yet, not said and done. And I don't know what's going to happen off in the future. As the mayor has said, we don't know. And then I put down the Coca-Cola plant because that's always been very, very important to me, and the city manager knows that because I started talking about that back in 2020 before I was elected. I had been elected before, don't worry. But that was, that 28 acres on a coastal city with property right there was just hugely important to me. And all the way, I'll go up to Coca-Cola myself personally and try to see the chairperson. I'd like to see that property frankly be given to us, but we've discussed that before. But I wanted to leave that in because it's really important, and we have some items that can really go into that area. And then I did list to continue to budget. I used a very nice way of saying this. I just said continue to streamline the budget process. And very important because when we start up the golf club as a different type of structure within our own organization, I just want to make sure that is really done well and running successfully. And then there was one other subject that I was going to list in the previous part where we did a little bit of a review. And while I was sitting here, I decided to put that in this section here because I can. So I said, under the umbrella of community relations, or what we what I have always said all of the years, customer service, okay? And customer service is such a broad category, but as I went through a sales organization, finally became a national sales and a general sales manager, and then every time we talked, it was always customer service. Do not forget that. And who's your customer? Who's your customer? And you have to really understand that. And in the military, we have who's the enemy. And you have to understand that. You have to understand who the enemy is. But you have to understand who the customer is and what customer service means. And so I just wanted to remind us that it's just a constant reminder to all of us. We get new employees in. Our employees have great reputations for having customer service. And let's just make sure that it always stays that way. Always. And remembering that sometimes we as the people working here sometimes get a little disgruntled or a little rushed or whatever. When that person comes to see us, it's their one exposure to the city and they want to know, where do I pay? How do I pay this? I don't know how to pay this. I don't know what to do. And we want to look at them and say, wait a minute, we're not going to say anything. We're going to say that's a customer and we want to take care of them. And so get a smile on our face and take care of them. So I just wanted to say that. It's not an issue for us here, but I want to make sure it's not, and I want to make sure we continue with it constantly and always.
Thank you. Good. For me, the future goals, it's all things we're all working on already. I listed mine, I went back a couple of reviews and just kind of looked at the old things and just carrying certain things forward that were not completed. Some might say that's a little negative, but it isn't, because there are reasons why they haven't been completed, and we all know that. So it's just keeping them on a list once a year to understand we're still working on it. So, some of the positions that we still need. We had customer service training that still has not been completed throughout the organization, and we're going to need that. I think that's really important. And I had Coca-Cola on my list as well. For those who don't know, Jennifer, Bob, and I meet with Coca-Cola once a month. They are staying even longer now. So, into the fall of next year, I believe, is the last thing we heard. So, it's interesting that it just keeps moving out. So we keep our communication doors open, that's for sure. Completing City Hall, which we know is almost done, so we'll be done with that one pretty soon. Improving our permitting process. Continuing to monitor and complete the backlog of our STR, short-term rentals. That's been going on for a long time, and we now have the positions filled that can, start to work on that. I know we're getting that extra support that we can't probably access because our system's down. But other things that I thought were really important that, we haven't really talked about, but I think we need to be working with the ocean optics people and create a relationship now before they bring something in. I think we need to be really at the forefront of that and talk to them about what the community would like to see. And is there a way we can achieve that? I think we need to work with the gateway developer, make sure he gets a shovel in the ground. If that's even at all possible at this point with where interest rates are going and all of that. I'm looking for that proactivity. And again, that's not that we're not proactive, we are. It's just refocusing in my mind. The ARPA thing, which several folks mentioned, I mentioned that as well. The thing with ARPA too, I would like to find out if, given that we've got the supply chain issue, right? And given that construction is so expensive, even though I know part of the reason with ARPA is to fuel our economy, right? I think we need to talk with somebody, and I don't know who the right people are, to find out if there is even discussion at the federal level of allowing that money, allowing that deadline date to be extended because of the extenuating circumstances. I think we need to ask somebody.
Certainly.
You know, we're talking, you know, is there a lobbyist we need to call? I don't know. Whoever the right person is, I'll leave that in your hands. Would like, obviously, the city clerk's office and you all to work together on the advisory committee, recommendations on the advisory committee utilization that we have been waiting on. The recommendations for the old city hall, filling all of our positions. I feel like I'm missing something. The downtown task force, just like you said. So, I mean, I think we're all in the same place, what we want to see. And again, tried to put these things, I tried to look at it as things that are not already in the business plan that you already know you're supposed to get done. And these are more, I don't know what you call them, but do you have any concerns about any of the goals that we have?
No, I don't. No.
They're all things you're planning on working on anyway.
They're all things I'm
No
very familiar
surprises
with.
is the point.
Right. No, I'm familiar with all of them. I think that they're attainable, at least in the 1 to 2 year period.
Yep.
Some of them roll year to year, as you can see,
Yep.
because they're longer-term projects, but I'm not concerned about these objectives.
Okay. Can I get consensus from everybody that we're okay with these?
Yeah.
Yes?
Definitely.
Yes? Yes, yes?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
and that's 5 yeses consensus. And before I go to Jennifer to maybe give her final comments, and Teresa, if she has anything. John, did you say you had something else you wanted to talk about? Or are you good?
I mentioned it, I would like to just have us talk about sometime in the near future, before we get close to doing another review,
The form.
just to talk about the form.
Sure.
Just to have us give it, it could stay
Well-
the same or change.
Good idea.
I mean, and feel free to go talk to Teresa about it. I mean, ask her to give some examples, you know? I mean, you can spearhead that. I'm fine with this form, but if you want to see something different,
I'm happy to have the discussion, so, whatever.
You know, we have actually tweaked it before, but sometimes I
it's been a while. since we-
understand that, you know, that we're trying to make judgments that maybe we don't totally have the ability, I mean, I always think it could be tweaked. So I think that that's a good thing to work on.
Okay.
Makes it better, that's good.
Okay, Jennifer?
I just have a few comments. First of all, I want to thank all of you very much for what is a very positive evaluation. And it's hard for me to believe that 5 years have gone by. It genuinely, it went by lightning fast. And all of a sudden, I'm 5 years older and 5 years more experienced. And all of you, to begin with, took a chance on me.
Can you believe we hired you at 20?
I know. 18, actually, Mayor, but no, I'm just kidding.
I have a shovel in my office.
Yeah, I've got one too.
We all have shovels.
Yeah, we all
Yeah, we do. I do too, I do too. You know, and I think that those who weren't around then or, you know, forget that you actually took a chance on me because I was a deputy city manager at the time. And
Yep.
you really wanted a city manager and you wanted an experienced city manager, but you gave me a chance. And this is, people come up to me all the time and they'll tell me two things. First of all, that's a really tough job you have. And second of all, I'd never want your job.
That's job safety.
Yeah, exactly. It is a tough job, but I think that one thing that's really important for me to realize and for staff to realize is that I always refer to all of you, 5 of you, affectionately as my 5 bosses. I could not do the job that I'm doing, and we could not be the organization that we are if you instilled in me fear for decisions that I made. If the 5 of you in any way, shape, or form when I disagreed with you, I felt that there would be repercussions, or that you would hold it against me or the organization for a period of time. That's not the case. All five of us, five of you and myself at different times, have had arguments behind closed doors about various different things. But I feel very free to give you my recommendation, and I'm getting the sense now that you feel free to make your policy and understand that I'll implement it even if I disagree with it. And staff will implement it to the best of their ability even if we disagree with it. Our job is to provide all of you our professionally sound technical recommendations that aren't political, so that at any time you won't think that you're flapping in the wind for whatever that recommendation is. And I'm glad I heard a comment today, and it really did resonate with me, that the trust factor, because you can trust me. You all, none of you are politicians. None of you are looking for higher office. You're here to serve your constituents, and my job is to help you do that, and to do it fairly and consistently. And at times we have failed as an organization to do that, and for that I apologize. We're not perfect. But we're almost perfect. No, I'm just kidding. But we try really hard, and so that I thank all of you. And I just, you send me once a year to the International City Managers Association conference, and this year I was in Columbus. And sometimes it is a bunch of city managers sitting around a table talking about their commissions, I'll be honest with you. But I feel very fortunate when I'm at that table, because I've got 5 great bosses, and I
Now
thank you
get
for
her the
that.
shovel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did give me 4%, so that's good. I'll take it. The other aspect is,
Can you let her be serious?
you might need two. The other aspect is we do serve an impassioned community, a bright community, an energetic community, educated community who are so involved. And that has inherent within it so many advantages and sometimes disadvantages, because you've got a whole bunch of people looking over your shoulder who probably could have done what you did better. And I understand that entirely, but I'm very grateful for this wonderful community. I truly love it. And to Commissioner Frey, thank you.
There it is. Thank you, John.
And thank you. I'll take it over here. Yeah, thank you.
Don't trip over it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyway, and so to Commissioner Franey's comments, here, I'll give this to the city attorney.
I'll just keep that safe. She's like,
You know, one aspect of that is that I relocated my family, who at that point was my husband. You know, our son is grown and gone, but to the city of Dunedin, and all of a sudden he's like the #1 cheerleader. You know, I came home last night, he's in his Blue Jays Hawaiian shirt, and, you know, the whole thing. So truly loves the community as well and has embraced it, and for that I'm really grateful for that security and that he gives me. And and he's also joined some clubs and service clubs and that type of a thing. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm going to go on a bit, but it's my opportunity. It really is. And so I want to talk a little bit about our employees, you know, and first of all, the management team, the leadership team. Jorge Quintas, obviously, you know, he has been, since he became the deputy city manager about 1.5 years ago, just an incredible contribution to the city manager's office. And you know, Doug Hutchins was also, in many different ways. They're two, you know, different deputy city managers. But I'm very grateful for his help and his support through everything that we've been through. And also, you know, the trust that staff has in him to lead the organization when I'm not here, and all of you have in him to lead the organization when I'm not here. It makes me go on vacation a little bit with a, you know, with a less heavy heart when I do go on vacation. Our leadership team, and whenever we have new employees, we sit down quarterly and we have lunch that Teresa arranges, and I always say the same thing. Our employees, the leadership team, when I sit in that room, they're better educated than I am. They're experts in their field, and my job is to remove obstacles so they can do their job. That's my job, because they know what they're doing, and that shows in you know, all the various components and the recommendations that we're able to make to you. I will very rarely second guess a department director. I will when I have to, but I very rarely do, because they know their business. They are specialists. We had a supervisors forum today, where we got all of our supervisors together in a room, so we can talk a little bit about some of the issues that we have currently and some of the obstacles that they may have. And we all circled up, Teresa led it, and we all circled up, and one of the employees said, I won't say who it was, but one of the employees said, we're really, one of our problems is we're really have a huge workload. There's a lot of work to do. It gets discouraging. We get really tired. And somebody said, well, why do you stay? And that person said, because I love it here. And that's prevalent in our workforce, the dedication and the commitment, which makes those accomplishments, which were attached to my evaluation, organizational accomplishments. They're your accomplishments, the organization's accomplishments, all of ours. The residents' accomplishments, those wouldn't happen without our boards and committees. And so it really is, I'm just honored to be serving with our employees. I truly am. And just a wonderful group of people. Last of all, my fellow charter officers. Where's the shovel? No, I'm just kidding. So Nikki, our city attorney, she and I have somebody who I can call. And sometimes I'll say to Nikki, hey, Nikki, what do you think? It might not be a legal thing, but what do you think? What are you seeing in your different communities? And I enjoy that relationship. And then, of course, Rebecca in the city clerk's office, Michelle, who's sitting in, who's done a super job. Same thing. She gets the job done. She's responsive. And I think has improved our game with the liaisons and the committees exponentially as well. And so I was walking one Saturday doing the end of my jog. I always do the same path, and I was at the end of the pier in the marina, and there are a whole bunch of residents chatting, and they were asking questions. Said, do you live here? Yes, I live here. And they're asking me all sorts of questions. Caladesi, Honeymoon Island, and I don't know as much as the five of you or a lot of people, but I knew a lot more than the average person. And they said, so how do you know all this? And I said, I'm the city manager. And they said, that must be the best job in the world. Yeah. So that was really cool. And I said, yeah, it is. It genuinely is. So I'm fortunate to have it. I'm very grateful to be here, and I thank you for this evaluation. Thank you.
Teresa, did you have any final comments?
Oh, no, my evaluation is pending, so no, I have no comments. Thank you.
Smart woman. That's why you have the doctorate.
That's right.
Exactly.
Be more educated and smarter than me.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, everybody. I know, and I know that it took us a little while to get it on the agenda, as it does almost every year. There's always a reason. But that is in no way a reflection.
Yes.
Obviously, right? This is a little bit of a love
In
fest.
fact, the extra time was probably a good thing.
Do you have anything you wanted to say over there?
It's an honor and a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you,
You're a
Nikki.
true professional, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nikki.
That's wonderful.
I'll wait for Rebecca. Okay, there is one other item on our agenda, and that's the proposed agenda, which has nothing on it except presentations.
In my announcement.
Yeah.
Right, and so I was thinking we could move those presentations to our Tuesday meeting. Although
We have 4, I think, on the Tuesday meeting already.
So?
We could have a meeting of presentations.
There's.
County Commission does that all the
I
time.
there are going to be 2 more presentations added to this. Teresa, unless we, there are some other presentations that I'm expecting on this.
Okay, but are we going to have a meeting just for presentations? I'm not doing that.
Well,
We're not doing that.
You know,
That's not a reason
Yeah,
to
no, I.
call together a full
Yeah,
staff.
I'm just going to tell you, remember, I'm Zooming. I'm going to be gone.
Right,
So-
and so to me, it's like, why even have it?
Well, what I'd like to do, if I may, Mayor, is I need to look at those presentations and find out what is time-specific, critical, if there's something that's like, yeah, sensitive, thank you. October is the Best City Manager in the World month. I just
City
we get my shovel.
I'm just saying, there's 2 presentations and nothing else. There is nothing. There is a Domestic Violence Awareness Month proclamation and a National Friends of the Libraries Week proclamation. It's 2 proclamations. Why can't we move those to Tuesday?
I assumed we were going to cancel that.
Yeah,
just
I
assumed.
mean, they're not,
There's nothing on.
we can move it on Tuesday and we'll have a bunch of presentations, but
Let's move it on Tuesday.
Okay, So remember, that's the day that I am going to
You-
miss.
Tuesday?
Tuesday, because I'll be on a bus.
Yeah.
You know,
But
there's
it's
no
two
way-
proclamations.
It's proclamation.
It's a proclamation.
Yeah, no,
It's
but
not
I mean.
substantive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No reason to have it, to me. Okay, so is everybody okay with that, canceling that meeting and moving those two
Yes.
presentations?
Yes.
And if, given what you're going through this week and next and probably several weeks.
We need to meet.
If we need to meet again, we will all make ourselves available.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure there's going to be things we're going to need to approve.
Yes.
I mean, unless you're telling us you want to keep it open for that. But I'm not sure it's going to be solved by then.
No, I'm not saying I need to keep it open for that.
Okay. All right, so can I have a motion and a second to cancel this meeting and move those
Proclamation.
proclamations?
So
Well,
move.
yeah, I won't.
Commissioner Gao?
Second.
Commissioner Franny? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes
Yeah.
unanimously.
Great. I mean, I
All
won't-
right, and then there is an informational item we were asked to put out there. Sorry, I'm going to give it to you in a minute. Dunedin Showcase Theater, Death by Chocolate at the Community Center, October 6th, 7th, and 8th at 7:30, October 9th at 3 p.m., and tickets are $15 each.
So as the Toronto Blue Jays liaison, I would like to congratulate the Toronto Blue Jays who have made it into the wild card series for the World Series. Hopefully, the World Series will come. They have home field advantage as well, so it's in Toronto. So go Toronto, beat Oakland. And also I'll congratulate the Tampa Bay Rays, who also made it into the wild card. And they will be playing in Cleveland. And so that's a big rivalry in my family.
Didn't the Phillies make it?
Yeah, I don't follow them. that
I know,
much,
but
so I don't
it's
know.
three local teams is what I'm
Right,
saying.
Yeah, I'm not even sure they didn't win it, I don't know, so.
They
I
did.
know they were in there.
I saw the big P.
Yeah, but anyway, but good luck to the Jays. I mean, obviously, we're proud of them. And, yeah, I'm hoping they kill it, so.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 games. They don't need the third, so.
Anybody else have anything pertinent? All right. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.